If you've ever been in a position where you have to scramble to hire talent because your A player just left or you just hit a new growth spurt and you are struggling to keep up with the demand of new customers coming on, you're not alone. This is actually something that most business owners face, and including myself. I have built a marketing agency to over $3.5 million. We work with e-commerce brands. We deliver meta ads, email marketing services. And I've definitely faced this in my own agency when we had more demand than we could actually keep up and we had to turn clients away, meaning we had to turn away monthly recurring revenue because we didn't have the team and the capacity to fulfill. And I see the same thing in most types of businesses, especially if you're running a software company, for example, and you hit a growth spurt. Maybe you have X posts that went viral, or your ads are now starting to work. Maybe your product hunt listing is doing very well, or your Hacker News published article is also climbing and doing very well. You need the back-end infrastructure to get good people fast. And this is what breaks a lot of companies, because they can't bring in quality talent on a consistent basis to keep up with the demand on the customer and the revenue side. How do we actually solve this? One thing that I like to speak about is a proactive hiring process. Just like you always have a pipeline for new customers, you should always have a pipeline for new employees. And the reason is because if you scramble to make a hiring decision and you make hiring decisions very quickly, you will almost always make the wrong call because you are pressured into making a decision now. We need someone now. And when you approach hiring with that mindset, you don't come at it from a point of, we need the best person, right? You are looking for the lowest common denominator and you're just hiring the person. And this is actually an extremely dangerous approach to hiring. As humans, when we need something now, we remove the flaws. Whenever we're pressured into making a decision, we can't always see the same flaws in the talent that we would see if we didn't have a very strict timeline. There's also another reason that when you need to hire right now, you likely put up a job post or two and you talk to a few applicants and you just hire the best one of the bunch. You don't give yourself enough time to actually get enough applicants to review. Now, how do we actually overcome this with the proactive hiring process? The proactive hiring process essentially means that you have job posts always running. You have people on your team always reviewing applicants, always taking interviews, even when you're not hiring. And this is the hardest thing because hiring is usually seen as a stop-start process. But the bigger companies, they're always hiring, right? Even if they don't have open roles yet. And that just allows you to keep almost like a bench of talent that's ready to hire once you're ready to bring people in. And you never know, that could be tomorrow, it could be next week, it could be 3 months from now. But you will never be in a situation where you're forced into making a hiring decision that is maybe unfavorable to your company. Maybe that person isn't a good culture fit. Maybe they meet some of the skill requirements, but not all. And you're saying, we'll just make it work because we need people, right? But you probably noticed yourself that never works out. The old way of doing this proactive hiring process was basically you would have a human who would go out, they'd post jobs, and they would review applicants and they would take the interviews. Nowadays, we can do this with AI. We can have AI basically find the candidates for us, filter them, qualify the applicants, and then we only interview the best ones. We can only take maybe 1, 2, 3 interviews a week with the top 1% of candidates. We don't have to speak to everyone. And we've actually built an internal process in my company for this because too many times we were faced with the same situation that we had all these clients wanting to work with us, but we did not have the team, enough people to actually deliver the services. So we built this internally, we use AI, and you can build it yourself with AI, with Claude Code. If you don't want to, then we've actually built a product for this that other companies are using called Yando.io. Yando.io, which I have on my screen here, is basically allowing you to have that proactive hiring process always running. It is the world's first fully autonomous recruiting agent, meaning you give it a Slack message, say, hey, we need to hire this person, this is our budget, 5 years of experience, give them a few more details, and they will actually go out and find the candidates that match that profile for you. Now, we specifically focus on offshore talent, which means we find the best talent in regions like Latin America, Southeast Asia, South Africa, Eastern Europe, without any expensive placement fees. This is not a recruitment agency. You're not paying 20% of salary for us to find you someone. It's actually a self-serve platform. You sign up for yourself, Yando plugs into Slack, and Yando will just find the candidates for you for as many roles as you need. It's software, you pay monthly. This is what we built. If you are interested in this and you want to have this proactive hiring process always on, where you just interview the best people, right? You don't have to spend time filtering applications. You don't have to pay somebody else to sit there and go through applications manually. The days of that are gone, trust me. AI does the heavy lifting for you. You interview the top 1%. The AI will also help you make a good hiring decision. And what that means is that you will never be forced into making a quick and potentially detrimental hiring decision again. Now, another point is when you are hiring from offshore regions like South America, like Eastern Europe, South Africa, it is also even more important to have a pre-vetted process, because my own experience after hiring 56 people from these regions, it is a needle in a haystack type of deal, meaning you need to really, really look hard to find the best talent in these regions, and the best talent in these regions usually already have jobs. So what that means is that you need a system and a process in place to reach out to these people, to have them go through an application process, a qualification process, make sure they can speak great English, make sure that they're qualified for the role. And what that means is you are actually allowing enough time for the process to happen so that you can get the right candidates in. Because yes, there's a lot of advantages to hiring from these regions. It costs, half the cost of your salaries that you're paying in the US and the UK. But with that comes the fact that you need to be extremely cautious and careful about who you decide to hire and who you bring into your company. And having a process that just allows you to get a lot more volume in the top of funnel is going to be extremely helpful. Now, with Yanda, we've done the hard stuff for you. We've actually pre-vetted these candidates, and we have a bunch of different factors that we look at. We only present you with the best ones. You don't even have to go through hundreds and hundreds. We just give you like the top 5, 10, 15, 20, depending on how much you need to actually then interview and hire someone, right? But that's a really, really important point that I'm trying to get across here, is that you can't just have like a 2-week hiring process and expect to have an A player on your team. You need to have that going on for weeks and weeks and weeks, so that when you're ready to hire, the people are already there. That is it for this video in terms of the proactive hiring process. As I mentioned, if you want to try Yanda, plug it into your company so that you make hiring fast and pain-free and a lot less expensive, then Yanda.io, link down below as well. Go check it out. That's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one.